For all the non-believers, 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 non-believers. I'm making non.
What's up, y'all? This is Jay Varsity, and I know it's been a while, with this whole quarantine stuff and everything. Say, I was looking for motivation to do somewhat of an episode for you guys, and it's just been very difficult with literally no NBA content until now that we got hello we got ourselves the first two episodes of the documentary of The Last Dance. This couldn't come at a more perfect time. I know I'm a few days late coming with this reaction and everything, but like I said, it was just finding that motivation, But yep. Anyway, let's get to the point. This is episode 92 of NBA Talk, and like I said, we're gonna get in on the Last Dance, and from what we learned, what we didn't know, and all that other stuff. Maybe you guys knew before. Maybe you guys knew that, but obviously I didn't know some of the things that went on in those first two episodes. So I was just as shocked and surprised as a lot of other people. I actually got the enjoyment of watching it with my dad because my dad is a hardcore fan of that generation of basketball. He's a hardcore Michael Jordan fan, but it was like he didn't show no bias talking about like, oh, this is why Jordan's the greatest. He actually just wanted to watch it just to appreciate like just to appreciate like the how much in depth they went into this documentary as much as I did. And anyway, yeah, the what what really surprised me was that how much they I'm not really surprised, but I it just came it just came to into my head how much they were going in on a dead guy. Cause I later on I didn't realize because maybe I wasn't paying attention to a lot of this stuff, but I didn't know. I completely forgot that Jerry Krause was dead. Rest in peace. But and then some of the stuff I was hearing Jordan say and all that other stuff, uh, it's like he wanted to break up this great dynasty after winning, even before they won 5 titles. And it's just you just wish you could get his reason why. Like you want to know why he wanted to break up this team. Like why he wanted to break up such a dominant force in the NBA. Like the force in the NBA, because you couldn't get to the championship without getting to the through the Bulls, unless you played the Western Conference. But then you're eventually gonna run into the Bulls in the NBA Finals. And I like the whole that they would go back and you would learn the origin and backstory, if you put it that way, about Jordan, about Scotty, which I'm gonna get into Scotty in a minute. It you start to you start to learn about what Jordan went through in his rookie year and all the other stuff. And the one thing I gotta say though, I think Jordan might be lying about one thing and one thing only. I think when he mentions that his teammates were doing cocaine, weed, and had prostitutes and all that, I think I think Jordan at least smoked some weed. Like I don't 100% believe him when he says that he didn't do none of that stuff because like come on. I think I think majority of the people at his age have probably tried marijuana at least once. I personally haven't. Like me, I personally haven't. I personally maybe it was just that day that person's weed just smelled like absolute shit. But anyway, I think I think it was cool also when they showed the highlights, like the how they mixed in some of the music. It really felt old school, and you were getting that feeling that they put so much effort and time into making sure that this documentary went into depth on how the team was built up to the point where they were getting into this last and final season because Jerry Krause and Phil Jackson couldn't meet in good terms, and basically he almost wanted to get rid of Phil Jackson after the '96 season, which is when they went 72-10, which is that just beyond surprises the hell out of me. Because how you gonna tell me after such a dominant season, especially after '96, after winning 5 titles, you wanted to break this team up and rebuild. But as we learned, apparently Jerry Krause wanted more credit than he actually got, and to to me that's like a sign of greed. Like, I don't mean to speak ill of the dead, like I really don't, but that's just a sign of greed because apparently from different sources, different people, and then based on this documentary alone, when he came, this team was already on the verge of being what it is, but then he put the final pieces together. He drafted Scotty, he got Dennis, he got Steve Kerr. And it was just he traded Charles Oakley to get Bill Cartwright, and it was just I guess he just wanted to prove a point in saying if I basically rebuild this team and we could get back to being on top of the mountain, then I'll get more credit than I actually deserve because so much credit was going to Jordan, going to Phil Jackson. It was, I guess he just wanted to feel like he got more credit than he actually deserved, which is why he came out with that quote, organizations win championships and all the other stuff. And Jordan and Phil Jackson, they they just said, no, the organization plays a huge part in it. Like, they do play a huge part in building a championship team, but let's not act like as if you're the ones on the court having to play every single night, having to actually win those games. So the front office can only do as much as they possibly can. So, and Jordan's absolutely right about that. So for Jerry Krause to want more credit than that, I don't know what his expectations were. But at the end of the day, it was things. If things would have, if they could have came to you know into a neutral into a neutral belief that they want to keep this thing rolling as much as possible, because I just it's just so dumbfounding how something like that could ruin one of the best dynasties in the NBA. Because if you look at the most historic franchises in the NBA, you have to add the Chicago Bulls from where they were in 1984, 1985 to where they ended in 98. Be It's just the biggest turnaround, one of the biggest turnarounds in sports. It's one of the most iconic turnarounds in sports because they went from mediocrity to the NBA's golden child. So, but the one thing I gotta say is the one thing I'm not gonna knock on Jerry Krause, and which was I mentioned earlier, he provided talent around Michael Jordan. He really did provide a lot of talent around Michael Jordan, and a lot of people could talk crap about Jerry Krause, how he broke up the dynasty and all that. But let's not act like this fool did not surround Jordan with some of the best talent that he could possibly get. For God's sake, he got Dennis Rodman, and Dennis Rodman was a defensive player of the year. Dennis Rodman was a defensive player of the year in the '80s. So, and he brought him from one of his biggest rivals in the Bad Boy Pistons. He drafted Scottie Pippen and Horace Grant. Like, I, I and speak and speaking of Scottie Pippen, the biggest shocker the biggest shocker for me was learning that absurd contract that Scotty signed. That 7-year, $18 million contract. Nothing had me saying what the hell that when he mentioned that contract. My dad and I were just like, who in today's generation would sign a 7-year contract and they're not even without even knowing that they're not even gonna make $20 million. It, which and then the one thing I'm really glad that Jordan said is without Scottie Pippen, there's no Michael Jordan. So anytime you mention Michael Jordan, you gotta mention Scottie Pippen. Cause I didn't win anything without Scottie. Which I'm glad those words came out of Jordan's mouth. I'm so glad those words came out of Jordan's mouth because anytime people try to mention how great the Bulls were, they only mention how great Jordan is. And he basically acknowledged, hey, if you're gonna mention how great I was, you better mention Scottie Pippen because with the sacrifices he made and, and how much he contributed to those championships, he everybody wants to bring up that Batman and Robin and all that other stuff, but I to me, this documentary makes me appreciate Scottie Pippen a whole lot more than I actually did because so many people try to downplay that Scottie Pippen was just uh, was just a good player, but he wasn't a great player because when he was the best player on the team, they couldn't get this far. I would like to actually correct them because in '94, when Scottie Pippen was leading the Bulls, they did win 55 games and they only lost Jordan. So it's like they did win 55 games with Scottie Pippen leading the way. So Scottie Pippen was more than just a good player. And guys like Skip Bayless try to downplay Scottie Pippen, saying he was a he was a great he was a great addition or that and all that other stuff. A great addition. Scottie Pippen's one of the greatest Hall of Famers of all time. Are you kidding me? But yes, and I never learned that, and I never knew that Scottie Pippen never won a Defensive Player of the Year. That is beyond ridiculous. That is beyond ridiculous. How did this? To me, the Defensive Player of the Year category is that's all about preference. You prefer blocks, you prefer steals, or you actually prefer like actual on-ball defense. Because I think Defensive Player of the Year is determined too much by how many blocks somebody averages. Because it feels like as if you average more than 2 blocks a game, you should be getting. If you average more than 2 blocks a game, you automatically are the Defensive Player of the Year. Which to me, that's the wrong kind of logic when you talk about defense. And I just found it very shocking how Scottie Pippen never won Defensive Player of the Year. They got Steve Kerr. They were mentioning like how how the team how you saw the montages of how they won their titles and everything. And this was a crazy part when Jordan starts talking about his series against the Boston Celtics and people. This is all of a sudden this brought up like different debates between him and LeBron, which people don't get tired of talking about. And all I gotta say is this. All I gotta say is this. After the tragic passing of Kobe Bryant, I think I was done with the whole. I was done with the GOAT debate even before that. But when I hear Jordan mentioning how much he needed Scottie Pippen, it just goes like that. Just goes to show you can't win without that crime partner, without that crew, because basketball is a team sport. And when everybody talks about how Jordan's 6-0 in the finals, well, when you mention 6-0 in the finals, do what Michael Jordan said and make sure you mention Scottie Pippen in that category. Cause without Scottie Pippen, Jordan's not gonna have 6 rings. Jordan doesn't have 6 rings if it wasn't for Scottie Pippen. If it wasn't for Jerry Krause getting Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, Dennis Rodman, Steve Kerr, these great role players that, and without Phil Jackson, they wouldn't be running the triangle offense, which is famous to this day. So anytime you want to mention like about the greats, and then you want to mention Jordan's finals record, you got to mention the great team and supporting cast that he had, because they they rolled that out to the end. But I just don't like how people are using the document. I'm solely appreciating the documentary, and I'm not trying to use it to up one's debate about LeBron versus Jordan, or who's the GOAT between LeBron, Jordan, and Kobe, and all that, because that's not what this documentary is all about. This documentary was to appreciate how much went in to what was the final season of one of the greatest dynasties in sports. That they want you to appreciate the greatness, and how they literally wrote it to the very end, because from the articles I had read because of this documentary, and the different people that spoke about it, this was literally the hardest season that they ever went through. And as you saw in the documentary, how they were on a 4-game losing streak on the road, they were struggling without Scotty. Jordan had to put a 49 just for them to beat the Clippers, and the Clippers were a mere mediocrity at that point. Sorry if I have to repeat myself, but you just saw how much Scotty was that defensive leader for that Bulls team, because they didn't have Jordan could only do so much, and you saw in those clips how Jordan was getting on Harper. He's making sure everybody's in their positions, and he's over here cursing on like, oh what? He goes like, why the fuck are you doing this and all that? It just, the frustration was clearly there. The frustration was clearly there, and then the blatant shots that he took at Jerry Krause used when he was mentioning the diet pills and all that other jazz. It was it was clearly that was a drama filled season. I felt like as if I was watching a damn reality show, and a good reality show, not these cheesy ones on MTV that people be watching nowadays, because that, going off topic, but still, the the stress in that season, and I can't wait to when we get to this Sunday to talk about episodes 3 and 4, because they're gonna be talking about the Bad Boy Pistons. They're gonna be talking about Dennis Rodman, and just like the rest of you, I have expectations for the rest of this series. For 10 episodes, I hope they cover a lot of different things when it comes to the 90s. I hope they talk about when Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr, because I feel like that's one of the biggest moments that a lot of people talk about when during that Bulls run, which was when the apparent fight, and I want to hear it out of Steve Kerr and Michael Jordan's mouth how it actually went down. So I want to see that. I want to see like, I can't wait till when they talk about the Bad Boy Pistons, because, excuse my language, because you know Isaiah Thomas is about to talk his shit. And personally, I have no problem with the Bad Boy Pistons. I watched the Bad Boys Piston documentary, and I watched their old games. I watched their games against the Bulls, and personally, to me, the the Pistons were like one of the biggest underdogs in the '80s, and nobody wanted them. They felt like as if nobody wanted them to win the championship, and when they did, the NBA felt ashamed because a team that plays rough, such rough and physical defense like that, to when people were getting into fights with them, that they were the NBA champions, and they clearly the Bad Boy Pistons to me, what they showed was they wanted to win at all costs. So, and Jordan did the same thing. He wanted to win at all costs. And as a competitor, you want to win at any needs necessary. So, if Jordan even said himself, if you had a weakness, he was gonna go at that weakness as much as possible. He had no mercy. So, and so that was the case with the Bad Boy Pistons. If they knew that Jordan didn't trust his teammates like that, and he literally just tried to take every shot at the rim, they try to make sure that they send 3 to 4 guys at him the majority of the time, so that he felt uncomfortable, so that he felt their physicality. So that's why Jordan struggles so much, and that the development of Scottie Pippen had a lot to do with that because he just wasn't that caliber of a player yet to when he could take the physical toll of dealing with a team like the Bad Boy Pistons. With I I just know there's gonna be a lot of shit talking, and Jordan is probably gonna mention how much he hates Isaiah, but Isaiah at the end of the day can say he beat Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan in their primes. He can say that. He says I got 2 rings while Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan were in their prime. N- And that to me is why Isaiah Thomas to me is very underrated, is one of the most underrated players in NBA history because of the hardship of how much people did not like the Pistons and that they just didn't want the Pistons to be on top. The NBA didn't was ashamed of a team like that of being their champions. So I just can't wait to hear the drama, especially with how I think Scottie Pippen hates Isaiah Thomas even a little more than Mike does. So you already know you're gonna see a lot of drama with that. And basically, and the last thing I gotta mention about Scottie Pippen, the one thing I have to knock, I really knock on Jerry Krause with is this, how he didn't want to give Scottie Pippen a new deal, and basically Scottie Pippen was basically asking for a trade. That for me was just, I was just like, wow, wow. I couldn't believe that. I really couldn't believe that. But then at the same time, it's like when you learn about that contract, he basically signed away his prime years, and basically from 91 to 97, you won 5 freaking NBA titles since then. How are you going to tell me that that man does not get a new deal? And then when you learn how much everybody was making, you're like, Jordan was making $33 million, Dennis Rodman was making 4, Scottie Pippen was making $2.8 million. You're telling me a Hall of Famer, one of the key contributions to 5 NBA championships? Well, 6 NBA championships at that point because they never got to good standards. Was making $2.8 million. If that's not highway robbery, I don't know what is. If that's not highway robbery, I don't know what is, man. But wow, 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 wow. But I really can't wait for this Sunday, man. I really can't freaking wait because you know you're about to learn a lot more. I hope they talk about. I hope they talk about like they actually bring up like each of the finals that they. I hope they bring up like each of the finals that they were in, about how they felt about certain teams and all that. I hope they bring up. Uh, I hope they bring up the '96 season when they went 72-10 and how they feel, even how they feel about certain players today. It's like you you want to hear their reactions because this was the first official documentaries about this team, and it's not like you're watching one of the championship documentaries that every team comes out with, and is they're going into depth about how much they went through in that championship season. And then you wonder what would have happened if they would have stuck, if they would have kept that, if they would have kept that team together. Would they have made it to the finals again? And if they did, would they have beaten the Spurs in '99? Would they have beaten the Spurs in the '99 season? Because who knows if probably they made it to the finals in '99 and then they would have lost to the San Antonio Spurs. That's one of the biggest what ifs in the NBA. Because if that Bulls team would have stuck together, who knows what would have happened? Would they have won another title? Would they have lost to the Spurs? You start questioning and thinking about like you start thinking about these things, and that's the fun part. Is like when you imagine what could have happened. But anyway, I can't wait for episodes 3 and 4, just like the rest of you. I I don't know what opinions you guys have about the documentary. Let me know in the comment section. Yo, I don't know. I think I covered everything I needed to cover. I think I did. I think I covered everything I need to cover by now. But anyway, I hope you guys stay safe. Keep washing your hands and all that. Try not to head out unless it's for serious reasons. You know, you gotta do grocery shopping and all, or that. Don't be just heading out into the street just to hang out and everything. We're not in a time like that at this moment. So like people are handling this differently, but I'm being very cautious and making sure that my friends are staying safe, and just don't be selfish. Think about if that was your family and you had other people just running around and just wanting to be out just to be out when you know that this is a pandemic going on. But anyway, stay safe. That's it. That's all. This is your boy Jay Varsity. I will try to come out with videos on a weekly basis, or if not, I'll probably try to come out with more. And if not, I'll probably be on Twitch. I'll probably be on Mixer. So we'll probably be talking about NBA topics there too. So anyway, get to the point. That's it. That's all. This is your boy Jay Varsity, and I'm out. Stay safe. Peace.
We got some non-believers out there.
Make believers out of non-believers. Make believers out the overseers. Make them bow down when